Story 1. The trail that didn't feel right. So I want to start by saying I'm not really someone who scares easily. I grew up camping, I've done solo hikes, I've watched every true crime documentary on Netflix probably twice over. None of that stuff genuinely rattles me the way this did. This happened about 2 years ago, late September. A friend of mine had been pushing me to try this trail near her town, maybe an hour and a half from where I live. It was a Saturday, I think the 18th or the 19th, somewhere around there. The kind of fall morning where it's crisp but not cold, and the light hits the trees in that really golden way. Perfect hiking weather. She ended up backing out last minute. Some family thing came up, and I figured, you know what, I've already mentally committed to this. I'll just go alone. The trail was rated moderate, about 6 miles round trip. I parked at the small gravel lot at the trailhead around 9:40 in the morning. There were 2 other cars there, a Navy pickup and a silver sedan, which I found a little reassuring. Other people around. Fine. The first mile and a half was genuinely beautiful. I had one earbud in, true crime podcast, funnily enough, and I was just kind of drifting, not thinking about much. At some point I passed a couple heading back the other way, a man and a woman, both probably in their 60s, matching hiking poles. We did that polite trail nod thing. That was the last person I saw for a while. Somewhere around the 2-mile mark, I stopped to eat half a granola bar and check my GPS. That's when I noticed a man maybe 200 yards back down the trail, just standing there, not walking, not stretching, just standing, looking in my general direction. I didn't think much of it. Maybe he stopped to tie his shoe. Maybe he was checking his phone. I kept going. I picked up the pace a little, not consciously, just naturally. The trail curved uphill and got narrower, and I was starting to feel the burn in my calves, which I was focusing on, and I'd switched my podcast off somewhere along the way though. I honestly couldn't tell you exactly when. About 15 minutes later, I stopped again at a little overlook. There's a bench there. It's sort of the turnaround point most people use. I turned around to take in the view. The same man was there, maybe 100 yards back now, still not moving, just watching. And okay, here's where I want to be honest. My first reaction wasn't panic. It was more like a weird internal argument. Like one side of my brain going, that's creepy, and the other side going, you're being dramatic, he's just a hiker resting. I've been told I second guess my own instincts too much. This was one of those moments. I turned around and started back the way I came. I figured if he was just a regular hiker, he'd pass me or fall behind naturally. I kept a steady pace, not running, walking like I had somewhere to be. I didn't hear footsteps behind me. The trail was soft with fallen leaves and I knew that didn't mean much. After maybe 10 minutes, I glanced back. He was closer. Not dramatically closer, not right behind me, but closer than he should have been given how fast I was walking. He was wearing a gray or tan jacket. I couldn't totally tell in the light, and he had no bag, no poles, no water bottle that I could see. Nothing. Just a man in a jacket on a trail. I'd like to tell you I did something smart and decisive. What I actually did was walk faster and pull out my phone and pretend to be on a call. I don't know why pretending felt like doing something, but that's what happened. I said, yeah, I'll be back at the car in like 15 minutes, loudly, to nobody. When I hit the last half-mile stretch, before the parking lot, I broke into a jog. Not a full sprint, just a jog. I told myself it was for the cardio. It was not for the cardio. I got to the parking lot and the 2 cars were still there. I got into my car and locked the doors, and I sat there for a second with my hands in my lap. He came out of the trailhead about 4 minutes later. I watched him in my rear view mirror. He walked to the Navy pickup, got in, and just sat there. He didn't start the truck, didn't pull out his phone, just sat in the truck, facing forward, while I was still in the lot. I left. I didn't wait to see what he did next. I drove about 3 miles down the road to a gas station and sat in the parking lot for a few minutes, just kind of collecting myself. I don't know what that man was doing. I don't know if he was following me intentionally or if the whole thing was an enormous coincidence and I terrified some poor guy who just happens to hike weird. I genuinely don't know. What I do know is that the Navy pickup drove past that gas station while I was sitting there, slowly, and then it was gone. I haven't gone back to that trail. Story 2. The gas station off exit 9. Okay, so this one I've actually debated sharing because it's one of those things where telling the story out loud, it almost sounds like I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I remember this very specifically because of how ordinary everything was before it happened. I was driving back from visiting my aunt. It was a Tuesday, which matters only because the roads were pretty empty. It wasn't a weekend thing. I left her place around 11 in the morning, and I was probably 2 hours into the drive when my gas light came on. I had been putting it off, which I do, because I always think I have more left than I do. I took exit 9, which I'd never used before. It was a sign for a Shell station, and I followed it down a 2-lane road for maybe half a mile. It was just past noon. Full sun. Not a cloud, it was actually kind of a glaring day, the kind where everything looks bleached out. The gas station was small, 2 pumps, a tiny attached convenience store, one other car at the pumps. When I pulled in, a woman getting coffee. I could see her through the window. I parked at the far pump, got out, started filling up. A man came out of the convenience store. I noticed him because he didn't have anything in his hands, no drink, no food, nothing, and he walked to the car parked next to the store, a dark green car, opened the door, and just stood there leaning on it, not getting in, just standing. I looked at my pump, looked at my phone, did the usual waiting thing. I looked up again and he was looking at me, not glancing, looking. Steady and direct the way people don't usually look at strangers. I did that thing where you make brief eye contact and then look away and act like you were looking at something else. I noticed his car had no front license plate. I don't know why I clocked that. I just did. The woman inside paid and came out to her car. She glanced at me, gave me a small smile, got in and left. I watched her car pull back onto the road and I had this weird fleeting thought of don't go. Just me and him now. He had moved. He was closer to the pumps. I didn't see him move. I just looked up and he was at the pump island closest to mine, pretending to look at something on the card reader, except he wasn't getting gas. His car was still parked by the store. My pump clicked off. I'd gotten maybe 8 or 9 gallons. I didn't check. I just put the nozzle back, screwed on the gas cap, and got in my car. I left without getting a receipt. He watched me the entire time. I pulled back onto the 2-lane road and within about 30 seconds, I saw the green car pull out behind me. I figured it was a coincidence. A lot of thoughts you have in these moments, hoping they're coincidences. He followed me for about 1.5 miles back to the highway on-ramp. I kept my speed normal. He stayed about 4 or 5 car lengths back. When I merged onto the highway, I moved into the middle lane. He took the same ramp, moved into the middle lane. I'm not going to pretend I was calm at this point. I was doing that thing where you grip the wheel really hard and try to breathe normally, and your brain is running through options that all feel either too dramatic or not dramatic enough. I changed lanes to the right. He changed lanes to the right. I did something I read about once, but never actually tried. I slowed way down, like annoyingly slow, the kind of slow that forces someone to either pass you or be obvious about what they're doing. I dropped to about 52 miles per hour in the right lane. He slowed down too, but then a truck came up fast behind him and he had to either pass me or get rear-ended, and he passed me. I memorized the partial plate as he went by. I don't want to post it here. And I called my partner and told them exactly where I was and stayed on the phone for the rest of the drive home. I didn't see the green car again. I filed something with the non-emergency line when I got home. I don't know if anything came of it. They took down the information. I fill up my tank before road trips now, every single time. Story 3. The man who followed me into the store. This one is shorter than the other 2 because the whole thing happened fast, but it's stuck with me more than almost anything else, and I think that's because of where it happened. Not a parking garage, not a trail. A grocery store. At 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. I was picking up stuff for dinner. Nothing special, it was one of those quick trips. I had a list of maybe 7 things and I was going to be in and out. I parked in the 3rd row, which was fairly full. Normal midweek grocery crowd, older people mostly, a couple of moms with carts, nothing unusual. I was almost at the entrance when I noticed a man sitting in a car near the front row. Just sitting there, engine off, no phone out, no food, just sitting and watching the entrance. I thought maybe he was waiting for someone inside. I went in, I did my thing, produce section first, then pasta, then the dairy aisle. I had my basket and I was moving at a decent clip because I hate grocery shopping and I wanted to get home. I turned into the cereal aisle and there he was, the man from the car, standing about halfway down the aisle, holding nothing, looking in my direction. My first thought was that I'd made a mistake, that he'd just been sitting in his car and came in the shop and ended up in the same aisle as me, and I was constructing something out of nothing. I grabbed what I needed and moved on. Bread aisle. He came around the corner. He picked up a loaf of bread, looked at it, put it back down, and didn't take anything. I stood there for a second, actually arguing with myself in my own head. You're being weird about this. You're making him into something. But my hands had gone kind of restless. I kept adjusting my basket from one arm to the other. I went to the self-checkout. There are 6 machines, and I picked one toward the middle. I kept my peripheral vision wide. He stood at the end of the self-checkout lane, not at a machine, just at the end near the exit. He was looking at his phone, except the screen was dark. I scanned my items as fast as I have ever scanned anything in my life. I paid, I grabbed my 2 bags, and I walked directly to the customer service desk, which is back toward the front of the store, not toward the exit he was standing near. I told the woman at the desk I thought someone was following me inside the store and described him. She was really calm about it, actually. She called someone on her walkie-talkie immediately and asked me to wait. A store manager came and walked me out through a side door near the pharmacy exit. When we came around the front of the building, the man was in the parking lot, standing near the 3rd row, near where I'd parked. The manager stayed with me until I got to my car, got in, and locked the door. I pulled out fast, and I didn't look at my mirrors until I was on the main road. I don't know what he wanted. I don't know if he'd picked me in the parking lot or if it started earlier than that. I've turned it over in my head more times than I can count. The part I think about the most is that screen-off phone. That's not what people do when they're actually on their phone. That's what people do when they want to look occupied. If something ever feels wrong in a store, go straight to an employee. I cannot tell you that enough. Do not try to figure it out on your own. Just go. That's all 3. Stay safe out there.